All right, let's get into it. We are about to investigate the story behind one of the most famous monsters in all of literature. But this isn't just about the creature. It's really about the strange case of the man who dreamed him up in the first place.
A cold thrill of terror. That's the feeling right at the core of this story, isn't it? It's a line straight from the book, and wow, does it set the stage for the gothic mystery we're about to unravel.
And that's really our central question here. We all know the names Jekyll and Hyde, but to really truly understand the monster, we have to get inside the head of his creator, Robert Louis Stevenson. So, our investigation starts now.
Okay, so every investigation needs a starting point. Ours begins at this scene of the crime, so to speak. The very moment this monster was born. And believe me, it wasn't in a lab. It was in the middle of a feverish nightmare.
First, just a quick refresher so we're all on the same page. The book, published way back in 1886, is all about the very respectable Dr. Jekyll. He cooks up a potion that lets him unleash his hidden, purely evil side, a twisted man named Mr. Hyde. It was an absolute sensation.
Now, the way this story was created is just wild. Stevenson literally dreamed it up. His wife, Fanny, had to wake him because he was screaming, and he was actually mad at her. He said, "Why did you wake me? I was dreaming a fine bogey tale." Then, get this, he wrote the entire first draft in just 3 days. His wife thought it missed the mark, so he burned it. But then, while sick in bed, he rewrote the whole thing from memory in another 3 days. This story didn't just come from his mind. It exploded out of it.
That whole frantic process, it just begs the question, right? What kind of mind cooks up a monster like that and in such a fever dream? To understand the creation, we have to profile the creator. So let's turn our investigation to Robert Louis Stevenson himself.
And what we find is pretty incredible. The man himself was, in so many ways, a walking contradiction. He was a man with a deep, double life. Not so different from the very character he brought to life on the page.
You can really see the two Stevensons laid out here. On one hand, you've got the Jekyll side, son of respectable engineers, a guy who studied law and passed the bar, from a very strict and religious family. But then there's the Hyde side, a bohemian artist type who they called Velvet Jacket. He completely rejected his family's faith, spent his nights exploring the sketchy bars and brothels of his city, and had this dark fascination with crime. He was living this duality. Okay, so the blueprint for Jekyll and Hyde was clearly there inside Stevenson himself. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Let's zoom out a bit and look at the world that created this divided man in the first place.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. You see, even though the book is set in London, the real inspiration, the actual blueprint for its divided world, was Stevenson's hometown, Edinburgh, Scotland.
A lot of people who've studied the book argued that the London in this story is really just Edinburgh wearing a mask. Stevenson took the feeling, the atmosphere, the architecture of the city he grew up in to create that perfect, creepy, foggy world.
Here's how it worked. Edinburgh was literally a city of two halves. You had the new town, all orderly and modern, where the respectable rich folks lived in their grand houses. But then you had the old town, a maze of old, decaying streets filled with crime, sketchy bars, and places where a young gentleman like Stevenson could go at night to indulge his darker side. Sound familiar? It's a perfect, real-world model for Jekyll's respectable front door and Hyde's sinister back door. I mean, the connection is just so clear. Stevenson didn't really have to invent a divided world for his story. He grew up in one. The city itself was a living, breathing Jekyll and Hyde. So, we've traced this theme of duality from the author to his city.
Now, to really get the full picture, let's pull the lens back one last time and look at the entire historical era he was living in.
The story came out in the late Victorian era, and if there was one thing that defined that time, it was this intense, suffocating pressure to seem perfect on the outside, no matter what you were hiding underneath.
You see, Victorian society had this incredibly strict social code. Your reputation was everything. You had to act morally, be proper, and keep your desires in check. But of course, for so many people, this was just a mask, a perfect Jekyll face hiding the messy, complicated, and very human Hyde underneath. Society basically demanded that everyone have a split personality.
All that repression created some deep, deep anxieties. People were terrified that society was rotting from the inside out. Darwin's new theories made them worry that humans could actually devolve back into primitive beasts. And all those desires they had to push down, they festered.
Big, foggy cities like London felt like they were hiding all sorts of monstrous secrets. And that is the final, crucial clue. Mr. Hyde wasn't just Jekyll's personal demon. He was the monster from the collective nightmare of an entire generation, the walking, talking embodiment of everything the Victorians were terrified of in themselves.
So, after looking at the man, the city, and the era, we can finally solve the case. We can see exactly why this story has stuck with us for more than 100 years.
I mean, its impact is huge. The phrase Jekyll and Hyde is part of our everyday vocabulary now. It's a universal shorthand we all use for someone with two very different sides to their personality.
In the end, this is the conclusion Jekyll himself comes to, and it's the timeless, powerful theme of the story. The real battle isn't between a good man and an evil monster. It's the war that happens inside one person. The shocking discovery that man is not truly one, but truly two.
So when you put it all together, our investigation shows that this spooky story was so much more. It was Stevenson holding up a mirror to the split personality he saw everywhere, in himself, in the very streets of his city, in the anxieties of his time, and maybe most importantly, in all of us.
And that leaves us with one final, kind of haunting question, doesn't it? The reason the story stays with us is that it makes us look inward and ask ourselves, what's our Mr. Hyde? What parts of ourselves do we keep locked away behind that hidden door?